No.
No, I'm not running for president.
It's wildly premature. We'll see what happens in the future, and we'll play that out.
Or so they say. The first primary in the 2020 presidential election is still 2 years away, but that hasn't stopped a wide open field of Democrats from testing the waters. My panel's back. This is the season for books. We're seeing one potential 2028 candidate after another with different memoirs. Mark Kelly has a policy proposal book about how to deal with AI in America. But this is their opportunity to get back on the trail. What are you seeing from your watching these maneuverings of these potential hopefuls?
Yeah, well, as a former campaign embed, I have seen this story before. It is not new or it is not unique.
You'll see the book roll out.
You'll see them going out and stumping in the midterms and saying that I'm just here to support Democrats. I'm not here to put forward any of my policy positions.
Not in this swing state. I don't really care about my own ambitions.
And then you'll see a little dipping of the toe come January, February, those committees until we get into the full shake of it. I think that these Democrats are using every opportunity that they can to not just try to define themselves, but also define themselves in the shadow of Donald Trump. How anti-Trump are they? You've seen it last night when you saw a lot of Democrats not going to the White House for the meeting. Obviously, some of them were invited.
National Governors Association.
The National Governors Association. Some of them elected not to go. You're going to see them continuously come out and talk about, you're seeing Abigail Spanberger give the Democratic response of the State of the Union. So you're seeing all of these potential hopefuls come out and try to really get their name out there, not just to be anti-Trump, but to be more anti-Trump than their Democratic colleagues.
Since this is inside politics and we like polls and it's never too early to do a poll, maybe it is too early to do a poll, but we'll still look at the poll as well. Grain of salt, of course, because we are 2 years out, but this is how a recent poll, Yahoo poll, had about the Democratic nominee, the choice for Democratic voters, no clear leader. Gavin Newsom is at the top of the pack here above Kamala Harris. A lot of this, of course, is name ID at this point, and this will undoubtedly change. What's interesting is some of the steps that Newsom has taken. Just last week, he announced that he's supporting a ban, California legislation to ban social media for kids who are 16 and under.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting move.
You're seeing all the candidates trying to create their own lanes. Newsom's done that on social media. Rahm Emanuel's been doing a version of that on social media and education. They all want to have something that is clearly defined with them that resonates with voters, right? And yes, like the 19% there for Newsom, that might be name ID. I actually love polls this time of year. I don't like polls after Labor Day. After Labor Day polls, it's like the sun, don't look at them. Like, bad things happen. You just get too addicted to them. Now they're somewhat useful because they're kind of telling us where people are and how things need to be sorted out, right? So, but yes, people were talking about this Munich sort of security conference as the first primary state, Bavaria. I have Bavaria on my dance card for being an early primary state. But there will be other moments going forward where suddenly there'll be something in the national headlines. Candidates will be reacting or they'll be trying to create their own news vortex and it'll become a primary and we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
So there'll be something in the future. We're going to have dozens of these before they actually have a primary.
Speaking of Munich Security Conference, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez had quite a viral moment, shall we say, after she was asked about how the U.S. should respond if China were to invade Taiwan.
Would and should the U.S. actually commit U.S. troops to defend Taiwan if China were to move?
I think that this is such a, I think that this is of course a very long-standing policy of the United States.
So, how bad will this be for her? Is it lasting? Is it a fleeting moment? What's your sense of the impact on her and her ambitions?
I think it was obviously pretty painful, and it's going to be brought up over and over again because it plays into a perception that some have that Ocasio-Cortez is not particularly expert on foreign policy. And if you go to Munich, of all places, you ought to get your sort of basic answers on foreign policy down. That said, in the era after Trump, are we going to judge candidates by exactly the same criteria as they used to be judged? I mean, the president says all sorts of outrageous things about foreign policy every day. It's interesting, are we going to go back to that. So, you know, in the end, foreign policy probably isn't going to decide the election.
Yeah.
I remember 2008, Barack Obama got into a spat on the second day of his first campaign trip in Iowa with Australia over Afghanistan policy. Nobody remembers that now, so it is very early, and people can change the perception.
And the AOC took a swipe a bit, and a little bit of it herself and at JD Vance. She said in a post about responding to JD Vance response to something. She said, "The only thing longer than my pause to think was their silence to his joke," referring to JD Vance's comments. All right, coming up, President Trump's State of the Union address is now just 2 days away. Remember when these speeches used to be civil? Well, not so much anymore. A glimpse at the Democrats' plans for Tuesday and the wild moments in recent history. That's next.
To remind you that